Donald Trump is loyal to no one but himself. Marjorie Taylor Greene is part of that MAGA movement, that is even nuttier than Kash Patel and Pam Bondi and Donald Trump.
Whatever it is, either she's about to get in some big trouble or she's got something that's going to pay her more than $5 million this year in 2026.
Yeah, so we don't... So I want to talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene. I want to talk about Mamdani real quick, and I want to talk about the future of MAGA because Nick Fuentes, the groiper, the Nazi, the white Christian nationalist, tweeted out that MAGA is dead. All right. So why is Marjorie Taylor Greene resigning? I'm not God. I don't know. Let's see her reasons. First and foremost, Marjorie Taylor Greene, representative of Georgia, let's remember, is one of the nuttiest members, or was one of the nuttiest members of the Republican Party. The last 5 years or so, she ascended as a result of the radicalization of the modern Republican Party under Donald Trump. QAnon, conspiracy theories, straight up white Christian nationalist. She was so nutty that she was allegedly, I was told, an outlier. And I remember, I've said this before, folks, that when I was writing columns for the Daily Beast, I said that Marjorie Taylor Greene, several years ago, right when she popped out on the scene, and, talked about Jewish space lasers and posed with a photo of her in sunglasses with a gun, with a photo of the squad behind her, when she, chased David Hogg, when she and Lauren Boebert, the trashiest members of Congress, sat there and were loud and shouting during Biden's talk. Oh, that Marjorie Taylor Greene who went out of her way to speak at Nick Fuentes' conference. Yes, that same Nick Fuentes, who has always been a white Christian nationalist and anti-Semite, a man who said that Hitler is based. That Marjorie Taylor Greene, that trashiest trash of the trash. That Marjorie Taylor Greene with the nutty videos of her doing those pull-ups in the weirdest way possible. That Marjorie Taylor Greene who was inside the anus of Donald Trump next to Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz. Completely 10 Marjorie Taylor Greene toes down with the MAGA movement. That Marjorie Taylor Greene has now decided to resign in January, and everyone's wondering, well, why? Why is she resigning? Well, she left behind a 4-page memo explaining her thoughts, and it can be distilled into the following. First and foremost, she's getting threats. What she did unto others is being done to her. What she did unto others is being done to her. Face-eating leopards eat faces. Before the election, I predicted that it would take a year for MAGA to turn on each other. Why? I've been following these people for 10 years. I know their personalities. And furthermore, if you're a student of history, fascists turn against everyone, including fellow fascists. I also keep receipts, and I have elephant memory. And I remember that Mike Pence, a man who prostrated himself to the golden calf of Donald Trump for the sake of ascending to power, a man who's a super Christian, who jettisoned all of his alleged Christian beliefs by being a barnacle on Donald Trump. At the last second, folks, that Mike Pence, the whitest, most conservative, most Christian man on earth, he decided on January 6th, 2020, you know what? I'm going to take the advice of Dan Quayle. Yes, Vice President Dan Quayle, he called him up. I'm going to take the advice of Justice Luttig, very famous retired conservative judge. He called him up and said, listen, Trump and MAGA are on me not to certify this election. This might be a bridge too far. And Dan Quayle, we got to give Mr. Potato like a salute, because apparently if it wasn't for Dan Quayle at the last second, maybe Mike Pence would have gone along with the failed insurrection. But it was Dan Quayle who apparently put Pence over the edge and said, you got to do your job. So Mike Pence did his job, certified the election. Joe Biden, Trump, beat him by 8 million votes, the record number of people that came out to vote during a pandemic. Biden flipped 5 states. Biden beat him fair and square. Electoral college, popular vote. Donald Trump to this day, folks, as the economy is in the shitter, as measles is coming back, as A person just died of bird flu, the first case of this happening in human beings. That just happened yesterday, right? And by the way, that's the fear of a lot of people in the CDC, that as a result of RFK's dismantling of the CDC and experts, we're not only going to get a resurrection of measles, which is spiking, but also, God forbid, bird flu, also polio. I digress. Um, Mike Pence went ahead. Oh, Donald Trump, by the way, still says he won that election, right? He doesn't care about any of this stuff. He still is promoting that lie. That's very important. That's what's happening in Mar-a-Lago, just telling people that he won the 2020 election. He lost. Mike Pence said, I'm going to certify the election. And then what happened to Mike Pence? You all remember? You all remember what happened to Mike Pence? Running for his life. Who was trying to kill him? Not Antifa, not undocumented immigrants, not transgender people, not drag queens, not Latinos. It was MAGA. It was MAGA trying to kill Mike Pence. Allison Gill. All right. I invited Allison. Let's see. She's just said, I finished my show. If anyone could talk to Allison, tell her to come on. Yeah, I know. Give me a second, folks. Give me a second. I'm just inviting her. I'm inviting her. Give me a second. I'm texting her. It's going to get a bit funky. Back. Anybody? Bueller? Here, I'm back. All right. So why do I mention this? Because MAGA should have learned, MAGA, that Donald Trump is loyal to no one but himself. MAGA should have learned that the face-eating leopard likes eating all faces, even Georgian faces, even Botox faces. I'm talking about you, Chrissy Noem and Pam Bondi. They're coming for you next, all right? That was 5 years ago. Marjorie Taylor Greene, all up in there promoting the conspiracy theories. Marjorie Taylor Greene, all up in there promoting white replacement theory. Marjorie Taylor Greene, all up in there white Christian nationalism. Marjorie Taylor Greene, all up in there about Jewish space lasers. I want you all to remember, before this disgusting corporate makeover of Marjorie Taylor Greene is complete, and by the way, they're completely complicit in it. The View had her on. CNN's had her on. You saw that interview recently where they asked her about, her own participation in these threats against AOC, in these threats against the squad, in these threats against David Hogg, in the celebration of Ashley Babbitt, completely radicalized QAnon nut, who was shot and killed for resisting arrest and, trying to break and enter, right? They made her into a martyr. Marjorie Taylor Greene, folks, is part of that. All right. She's part of that radicalized movement that came out of QAnon and the batshit conspiracies that Donald Trump and the MAGA, if you will, Republican elites and the adults in the room were perfectly fine nurturing, feeding chum, because they realize, you know what, this will help us and we can use them against the left. Why do I mention this? Because people kind of forget that Pizzagate led to QAnon, led to what we see right now. It literally led to Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? They went out of their way, by they meaning the Republican Party, knowing full well that this was all bullshit, this was all lies, this was all dangerous. The FBI in 2020 warned them that QAnon, the conspiracy theory that says the rest of us who basically don't support Trump are a bunch of, wait for it, child sex trafficking pedophile devil worshippers, not making this up, evil, sinful devil worshippers. Um, they warned that QAnon would radicalize individuals and groups to commit violence. Voila, it did. I give you January 6th, Ashley Babbitt. I also give you Vance Bolter. Vance Bolter, if you all remember, a lot of people have forgotten. We don't talk about it anymore because he was a white conservative man. But I remember Vance Bolter was the man who had a list of 70 liberals and Democrats, a completely radicalized Trumper, white Christian nationalist, who in part, and there was only like one major story done on this, what really put him over the edge was QAnon. When killed Melissa Hortman, a Minnesota state representative, and her husband and their dog, and God forbid would have killed more people, but was found. That Vance Bolter, also part of QAnon. All right. Why am I spending so much time on this? Because I need you all to know where MAGA is and where MAGA is going. All right. Marjorie Taylor Greene is part of that MAGA movement that is even nuttier than Kash Patel and Pam Bondi and Donald Trump. Donald Trump went along with it. He goes, okay, I can use this. I'll use this and I'll promote it because Donald Trump embraced QAnon, folks. Y'all remember that? QAnon was fringe, like 4chan, like nutty stuff. But Donald Trump said, okay, leading up to 2024, let me embrace this completely. Let me embrace the replacement theory. Let me embrace this Nazi conspiracy about Haitians eating dogs and pets that has led to threats against the Haitians. Let me engage in stochastic terrorism for 10 years. Let me target the press, call them any of the people. Let me target Dr. Fauci. Let me target teachers. Let me target all these individuals are against me. Let me target law enforcement. And what happened? Death threats against all these people. Marjorie Taylor Greene was part and parcel of it, folks. Part and parcel of it saying yeehaw. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is part and parcel of this MAGA movement, I predicted about 4 or 5 years ago, she is the present and future of the party. I said, all these people who think they're going to keep the Marjorie Taylor Greenes in check, you're wrong. You're not paying attention. I was told off by all these establishment hacks. I think even Ian Bremmer, all these folks, right? You know them on Twitter. Oh, no. Mitch McConnell, they'll keep him in check. Oh, Donald Trump has lost the 2020 election. You'll see. And I'm like, nope. Even if Donald Trump doesn't win again, these freaks, they're the present and future of the party, right? I want to remind you all that Marjorie Taylor Greene and Paul Gosar spoke at Nick Fuentes' conference, and then when they were asked about it, they didn't apologize. Furthermore, during this rehab tour just last week, where Marjorie Taylor Greene expressed her regret, her remorse for any participation she did in creating this climate, she still didn't throw Nick Fuentes under the bus. Did you all see that? She did not throw Nick Fuentes under the bus. She, in fact, told the CNN reporter, you should invite Nick Fuentes, all right? So Marjorie Taylor Greene, why is she now out? Because Marjorie Taylor Greene is part and parcel of this MAGA movement that was radicalized in part by Trump and the Republican elites based around QAnon that said that there is a deep state and that only one person can cleanse the deep state, Donald Trump. And the Rosetta Stone that proves the deep state is the Epstein files. So guess what? Donald Trump wins. You all remember Pam Bondi on TV. I have the Epstein files right here and we'll release it. Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, we'll release the Epstein files. They did that performative bullshit where they had all those right-wing freaks, Mike Cernovich and all these others with those binders. We have the Epstein files. And everyone was like, yo, what's in those files? What's in the binder? Like, don't you worry about it. And then if you remember, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, looking ashen, white-faced, were on Fox News, and they were like, yeah, we've seen the Epstein files. There's nothing to see. He killed himself. Everything's fine. And then Pam Bondi was like, yep, never mind. Everything's fine. What we now know from Wall Street Journal reporting is that in the spring, Pam Bondi informed Donald Trump he's in the Epstein files. Donald Trump then lied publicly about him being in the Epstein files. What we've witnessed since the spring, in my opinion, is one of the biggest political cover-ups in modern history. The Wall Street Journal, that left-wing socialist rag, also then was the first one to come out and said that Donald Trump wrote a lewd note with a lewd drawing to Jeffrey Epstein for a birthday book, a 50th birthday book that Ghislaine Maxwell was compiling. Donald Trump was furious, tried to kill the story. Story was published. Then he threatened to sue. Then he sued them. Guess what? The book came out. As this was happening, Ghislaine Maxwell met Todd Blanche. Todd Blanche was Donald Trump's previous attorney, personal attorney who's now in the Attorney General office. Todd Blanche met with Ghislaine Maxwell. Less than a week later, folks, Ghislaine Maxwell is transferred from Florida to Club Fed in Texas. A person of her felony status, a child sex trafficker, a sex offender, cannot be transferred. That means someone high up did a favor to allegedly give her the veto that let her, just like Jeffrey Epstein, get a sweetheart deal to move all the way from Florida to Allison's ready to Texas. And what we found out is she's getting pampered, special deals, once commutation, right? And Donald Trump twice has been asked about it, hasn't said no. So Marjorie Taylor Greene feels betrayed because she knows her base is like her radicalized around the Epstein files, around QAnon. So she has joined Thomas Massie to release the Epstein files. Donald Trump said, you better not release the Epstein files. He threatened all the Republicans, right? But Marjorie Taylor Greene, knowing her base, much like Dan Bongino, his base, have you noticed he's been a quiet, not even a mouse fart? Why? Because his base is also on his back calling him a sellout. Allison says, I accepted, but it disappeared. Allison, I invited you again. I'll invite her one more time. 1 second. So that's why for her, she's stuck. Her 6 is her base that demands pressure, and in the front is Donald Trump. So she stood by. What did Donald Trump do? If he has nothing to hide, he has nothing to lose. He knows he's all up in the Epstein files. Ghislaine Maxwell is in a cushy prison. The Pam Bondi and DOJ can release the Epstein files. They haven't. It's a flaming cover-up. Marjorie Taylor Greene probably knows it. She says where the wind is blowing. She sees that he's negative 35 points on the Epstein files. She sees that Allison says, "What the heck?" Okay, hold on. Give me 1 second. Allison, I invited you. I don't know if you're watching. Let me close and open again. All right, there's an invite for you, Allison, if you're watching right now. Apparently, it's a conspiracy, conspiracy. They don't want Allison to join me. But Marjorie Taylor Greene sees the wind is blowing on the Epstein files. You're joined us. All right, Allison. I'm almost done. Okay, so let me finish my little spiel here, and I'll bring Allison on. Thank you, Allison, for being a fellow masochist. I'm in California right now. Right before I'm supposed to go to a talk, and I'm like, why don't I work instead of relaxing? Why don't I just work? I was just talking about Marjorie
Finish
Taylor.
your rant. I'm going to turn my light down a little. I'm a little bright.
Okay. All right. So Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? She realizes, okay, I can't move away from the Epstein files. She's all in. Second thing she notices, if you've been paying attention, the economy. Oh my God, the economy is in the shitter. I see where the wind is blowing: economic populism. If you recall, during her rehabilitation tour of the past month, she has squarely blamed her party and Mike Johnson for the shutdown. All right. She says, I got kids in Georgia and my kids can't afford healthcare and they can't afford economy. Well, guess what? Who voted for the big, beautiful bill? Who was all in on Trump's agenda? You were, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Someone should ask her about that. All right. So Epstein and the economy. 2, the third plank. She realizes where the wind is blowing on Israel, on America first, on all these wars that Donald Trump is starting. And she's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. My radicalized base that was radicalized by Donald Trump and now the Rhino MAGAs, they think they can sell us on this bullshit of America first, but then continue helping Israel and now killing Venezuela. So those are the 3 planks: Epstein, America first, and the economy, where, to be honest, she's a little bit more to the left than some Democratic establishment folks. So she says, I'm going to hold firm. Donald Trump goes against her, calls her a traitor. And guess what, folks? Bringing it back full circle, face-eating leopards eat faces. And so now she says, oh my God, I'm being threatened. Huh. I can't tolerate being threatened. Oh, this is what you've been doing for 5 years. And now a lot of people are asking, well, why is she waiting until January? That's like 2 months away. Because, folks, that's the 5-year mark. And once you serve for 5 years, guess what? The pension kicks in. So she can chill, get her pension, get her health care, be chilling. I predict she will most likely go to media. And then, speaking about the future of MAGA, and I want to bring in Allison, my prediction remains true. I believe Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and Nick Fuentes represent the present and future of MAGA. And it doesn't matter if they run for office. I'm not saying that. Who is it? Breitbart. Breitbart famously said, and he was also the mentor for Steve Bannon, politics is downstream from culture. If people, we might sit here and go, oh, these people are cranks, they're nuts, they're freaks. Folks, you don't know MAGA. You don't pay attention to them. And furthermore, I'll say this before handing it over to Allison. My fear is, if the Democratic establishment doesn't change, which it won't, you're not realizing that Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, and Candace Owens, I get their TikTok clips on my WhatsApp from educated liberals and independents who should know better, who are literally saying, did you see what Candace Owens said about Israel? Hey, did you see what Marjorie Taylor Greene said about Epstein? I think they're on it. So if you think that they're going to go away, I think you're wrong. That's just my take on it. I yield the floor to Allison. Thank you, Allison, for joining.
Thanks for inviting me. So I think a lot of people who are seeing this Mamdani Trump White House visit as some connection between the left and the right are kind of missing the forest for the trees. Mamdani just domed him, came in. It's easy to mesmerize a narcissist with personality and charm and wit and intelligence and celebrity and media attention. That's why Trump was, mesmerized by this. visit. I wouldn't read into the left and the right, hard left, hard right coming together too much. And there's something going on with Marjorie Taylor Greene. I can't suss out why she's leaving a year early. I've thought of all of the reasons. A lot of people say the threats, right? She's being threatened. She's going to be threatened whether she's got a seat in Congress or not. The threats aren't going to stop. That's not it. They say she's going to get her pension and bail so she doesn't have to work anymore. To Congress, she wasn't really working before. And she's worth $25 million now. And it's because she spent 5 years in Congress. So what's that, $5 million a year? She's going to leave $5 million a year on the table to stay one more year through kickbacks and stock buys and stuff. She's going to leave $5 million on the table to leave a year early to collect a pension. Nah, the pension is peanuts compared to what she can make by staying another year. Some people say that she doesn't want to be primaried. She doesn't have to run again to stay her full term. She can say, I'm going to retire. I'm going to resign in January 2027 when the new Congress comes in. She doesn't have to run again. So it's not about being primary. That was her reason that she gave in the video, which makes me think it's suspect. So there's something worth more than $5 million to her. And that's why she's getting out. People are, well, she wants to run for higher office. She wants to run. 100% of people run for higher office while keeping their seats. So it's not that either. There's something fishy. I don't trust her. She's a Nazi. She hangs out with Nazis.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Teaming up with Nick Fuentes and the Groyper v. MAGA wars, that's just going to split the party more. And we'll see how it ends up if that is in fact where this is all going. But there's just something off about her leaving $5 million on the table by leaving a year early. And I can't. So whatever it is, either she's about to get in some big trouble, or she's got something that's going to pay her more than $5 million this year in 2026.
I agree. I think media can pay her more than $5 million. She can be the next media star with Candace Owens. They all do that anyway. J.D. Vance is sitting there spending most of his time on social media. Same with Ted Cruz. That's all they have is the culture war. I'm not making this up. I want to remind people that J.D. Vance slipped into Charlie Kirk's seat as vice president to co-host Turning Points. Totally normal. So it could be media. It could be, let's be generous, Allison. Let's be super generous to a woman who's never been generous. Maybe, just maybe, she's disenchanted. She joined MAGA because she thought Donald Trump would expose the deep state, and she realized, oh my God, my team is the deep state, and they might have actually raped girls. And she truly is against AI, and she really wants to expose the deep state, and she cares about the Epstein victims. Allison?
Yeah. Another person had said, do you remember Ellsworth, who read into the congressional record, the Pentagon Papers? They're like, maybe she's going to come in and read some of the Epstein files and then bail. But you don't need to bail. You could still stay. She could switch parties. She's definitely screwing Mike Johnson. But there will be a special election to fill her seat. It is a really, really red seat. I know Democrats have been doing incredibly well, but I think it would end up more like Florida 1 and Florida 6, where we gain 30 points, but still might not win the seat. It's his ruby red district. So it's really, I am really looking forward to the next couple of weeks. I know that sounds weird to look forward to what's going on right now with this administration, this regime, but everything is falling apart, Waj. Everything is falling apart for Donald Trump. Lindsey Halligan, the Comey case, Abrego Garcia, they got caught lying in court this week on that. They got caught red-handed lying in Judge Ellis's court on the Chicago situation. The charges against Marimar Martinez and Ian Santos Ruiz were dropped by the Department of Justice. Those are the two people. That's the incident, that shooting incident of them in Chicago is the basis for Trump's emergency petition to the Supreme Court asking to be able to deploy the Guard to Chicago. They're ruling that the D.C. National Guard is unlawful. They're pulling out of Portland. Everything is falling apart. MTG left. They can no longer Mamdanify Democrats in the primary, and I'm sure they had spent millions of dollars strategizing this. We're going to tie Mamdani like an albatross to the necks of Democrats running in the midterms. That's how we're going to win. That's out the window with just one look. Just one look from Donald Trump to Mamdani in the White House.
It's okay. You don't worry about it. You call me fascist. It's okay. Okay.
The Epstein files. I mean, 527 to 1. You know, the one being Clay Higgins.
Clay Higgins.
And
Clay Higgins.
I think I've said this on multiple shows. I'm going to be looking for Clay Higgins sized redactions when those files come out. Like, why is he the one guy voting no? We've got so many things falling apart for the Trump administration all right now. And we're about to learn why, and we're about to learn more, and we're about to see it all come crashing down. And there's going to be more desperation, and we have to keep our heads on a swivel for that. There could be an invocation of the Insurrection Act, where they try to grab more power. He's backing off on his tariffs again, saying we're going to lower prices by removing some tariffs. Oh, so you admit that tariffs raised the prices? Okay, just checking. So he's chickening out on that. And the Supreme Court is probably about to find out that his tariffs weren't legally put in place in the first place anyhow. The Texas maps got thrown out this week. We're going to see what the Supreme Court has to say about that. And I know they put a pause on it, but they are known for refusing to allow new maps this close to a primary election. These started March.
Yep.
So it's all crashing down, and spectacularly, and all at once. It's like the 7-year itch. No, it's like the 10-month itch. It's like all coming to a head right now, because that's how long shit takes in court. And that's what I'm looking forward to on the next couple of weeks, to see exactly how Candace Owens, the broligarchs, because Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to be funded, if not by Donald Trump and MAGA, she'll be funded by the broligarchy.
Yep.
To see how they try to regroup and try to have a new cult leader, which is impossible to do if you know anything about cults. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they try to regroup with not like known Nazis and fascists and white supremacists and Christian nationalists. It's going to be fascinating to watch. But what's important to know is that because of us, because of our continued fight, and because of us death by 1,000 paper cuts, we have been able to come in and pull the foundation, this paper-thin foundation out from under this burgeoning autocrat trying to consolidate power all at once. And so it's going to be something to watch. I wish I could live another 60 years so that I could see how history records this moment.
Yeah, we don't know, but everything everywhere all at once crumbles, and this was all predictable and could have been avoidable, which is so painful, Allison. And face-eating leopards eat faces. Candace Owens has already backtracked from Donald Trump. Tim Dillon, part of the brosphere, is backtracking. Joe Rogan is backtracking from the ICE stuff. Theo Vaughn is backtracking from the ICE stuff. He's pissed off because they apparently used his clip without his permission, because that's been overreach. ICE is now being mocked and ridiculed openly. There was a great song I retweeted that Jesse, who's that folk singer who was on Colbert? Jesse Owens? What, Jesse
Wells?
Yeah. Fantastic song about ICE and Red. You're seeing overreach on the economy, especially with Black Friday. I think they're not going to see the type of sales that they want. The economy is going to get worse, folks. AI is finally becoming the enemy. Marjorie Taylor Greene is talking about it. My fear is this. I don't take these people, I don't reject them anymore. I see where America is. This is a country of amnesiacs that voted for Donald Trump even after he failed. And this is a generational opportunity for generational reform, which is why Mamdani represents such a threat. And, I did my spiel on Mamdani yesterday. I think, Donald Trump tried his charm offensive. I agree with you. I think Mamdani dominated. He was able to do a counteroffensive. He came out winning without compromising on any of his message. Donald Trump defanged the MAGA attack, not just on Mamdani, but on Democrats. Whether he did it knowingly or unknowingly, I don't know. I don't care, but I loved it. The jihad attacks, gone. He'll destroy New York, gone. His policies are terrible, gone. Don't work with him, gone. Donald Trump embraced Mamdani before Chuck Schumer and Kristen Gillibrand. That's a fact, folks. And if that does not infuriate you about the Democratic establishment,
that doesn't make Trump better than Schumer.
No. You and I don't go there. Some people might go, yeah. No, Trump's a piece of shit. But this is an indictment of Schumer and the Democratic establishment and
Well, weren't
Jeffries
they
and
voting
Gilbert.
at that moment? Wasn't Hakeem Jeffries and 80-something Democrats voting at that moment to condemn socialism?
Yeah. Oh, him and there's a whole list of them. So look, this is where I give credit where credit's due. Trump trolled the Democratic leadership also. So he game recognizes game. I think Trump sees a fellow guy from New York, right, who won over people. He's like, okay, you're good on TV, I'm good on TV. And I think secretly he always wants to be loved by New Yorkers. He's a carnival barker. I also think he has business in New York. He's like, okay, let me try sugar. Let me try the charm offensive. He did that with Bill Maher, but Bill Maher is an idiot and actually went along and said, I think Trump's nice. Mamdani didn't do that. Literally, Mamdani was standing, Trump was sitting, Trump was looking at him, like you said, Dom. I think that's perfectly correct. Dom, sub. And Mamdani walked away with everything: Diet Coke, fries, steak, and flowers. And then you see the meltdown of Loomer and the meltdown of New York Post. It's just so, and it is sad. It is an indictment of the Democratic leadership because Trump sees also where the wind is blowing in a strange way. He goes, okay, people like Mamdani, I'll ride his coattails for a bit. People like economic populism because I've effed up. Okay, I'll say that some of his policies are
Yeah,
good. I want to
maybe I
explain why.
can latch on to his affordability message
There you go.
because I have wrecked the economy.
That's what he did. And I'm sorry to say, folks, I know there's a lot of Dems who hate hearing this. He ran a circle around Schumer and Jeffries and Gillibrand. It is inexcusable for this type of political incompetence by the Democratic Party. And the reason for it, like you said, Allison, that the vote against socialism is because of their corporate donors. So when I see the future of MAGA, I see them on three planks. I'll repeat that they're doing something smart here that I don't want people to underestimate, or to quote George W. Bush, misunderestimate. Economic populism in their own weird way, going against Israel genocide and interventionism, Epstein files. On the Epstein, Democrats are strong. They're the ones leading it. On the economy, the economic populism and, supporting Israel, I see cracks, Allison, where I want Democrats to plug those holes because these guys are coming for those folks.
There's a Fox News poll, a new Fox News poll, 76% of Americans think the economy is in the shitter. 76% of Americans. And I guarantee you, most of them know that the Republicans are in charge of both houses of Congress and the White House. So the message, whether you're a more moderate Democrat or a progressive leftist, the message of affordability is working, and it's a key message. And for certain members of the donor class of the party, and there's only a handful of them. I don't believe in this wholesale demonization of Democrats. There's only a handful of them, and I think that they can be primaried. And I think the difference between myself, I'm progressive. I vote in the primaries for progressive candidates. I think the difference between me and somebody who's harder left is that if my progressive candidate doesn't win, I vote for the one that the Democrat that does win. I don't pull my vote back because my particular candidate that I wanted didn't win. I was a Bernie Sanders person. I ran to be a delegate for Bernie Sanders in 2016, and when Hillary was the candidate, I'm fully behind Hillary Clinton. 2020, I was the Elizabeth Warren Democrat, and when Warren didn't win the primary, I did everything I could to help her win the primary. She didn't win the primary. I was 100% behind Joe Biden, and I will continue that pattern of behavior until I die. Like, it's just going to be the way that it goes, because even if it's the less progressive Dem that wins the primaries, it is better than the Republican. And it's a zero-sum game. It's one or the other. So at least in federal, elections. So that's where I stand on that. And I think last two Tuesdays ago shows us that look at the mayor of Seattle, look at Mamdani, look at some of the more progressive candidates now have the backing and to win these primaries and win these races. And I'm looking forward to that. And I just hope that the country recognizes that it's going to take more than one election cycle to cull the party of this handful, I can count them on less than two hands, of donor class Democrats who don't really understand the assignment or are working from a place a framework of something that worked in 2012, but no longer works anymore. So that's where I'm at with it. And I think that we'll see that in the primaries. I just hope that when people's progressive candidates, if they do not win the primary, that they continue to go forward and put all their energy in electing the Democrat, whoever it is, because I think that that's important. We can't fix our party if we're not the party in charge. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. We're very much aligned in the sense that I also Bernie in 2016, but they chose Clinton. I said, "There's no both sides. Clinton will be fine. You can't bring in Trump." 2020, 2020, I like Warren. Biden was the guy. I said, "Fine." 2024, as you all know, I said, "Gosh, the Democrats have really messed up on Gaza," and bear hugging Liz Cheney over the woke, but there's no comparison. And the lesser of two evils, folks, exactly that, less evils, because people are suffering right now with the trade war and literally being kidnapped.
And I hate our two-party system. I fucking hate it. Pardon my French. I hate that that's it. But we aren't going to fix that if we keep not voting and letting the Republicans win.
And
they love the two-party system.
This is where I will say, and I have to go for his talk, but I'm late, but that's fine. We'll make it happen. I say Democratic establishment on purpose. If you all notice, I'm very deliberate. I don't say Democrats because I know there's a lot of good people there who get it. I'm talking about the establishment and the people, the few people who have this much power. They need to go. I'm done with Schumer. I'm done with Jeffries. I'm done with the status quo. I'm done with corporate centrist Democrats. What have they done for you? They caved. They hijacked Biden's progressive economic agenda. They bailed out the banks. They threw the woke under the bus, which means people like me. What have they done for you lately? Really think about it. And this is where I think that this is a generational moment that needs generational change. And you use the word that I always use, Allison, I'm glad, culling. It's going to take a couple election cycles, but we should be ambitious. They should fear us, Allison. I think we should put pressure on them in the primaries. I think if they're not going to change, we replace them. We just replace them. Take out the weak parts, and let the people who get it, let them grow.
Yeah. I spend all the rest of the time pushing my Democratic leaders to do better, and then from April, June to election, zip, go Democrats, like that. That's just how I roll. So come after the election, when I start pushing again on the Democratic leaders to do better. I know a lot of people are like, circular firing squad, we're always coming at each other. And I'm like, this is the time to do it. Not 100 days before the election.
This is the time.
This is the time to do it. And I think that the message was sent pretty loudly and pretty clearly a couple of Tuesdays ago. I guess not loudly and clearly enough for some Democrats to get the message. But those are the ones that I think are in the most jeopardy or are just leaving already, like Dick Durbin, for example, just going to not run again. But man, I wish we had a different system than the one that we have, but we do not. And we can't change it unless we're back in power.
And folks, thanks all for joining us. There's been 2,000 viewers. I was only supposed to talk for 10 minutes, but then Allison came in, so we kept talking. We're talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene, Mamdani, and not just the future of MAGA, but also we plugged in the future of the Democratic Party. I please do not let Marjorie Taylor Greene be rehabilitated or whitewashed. I beg you. I brought in some receipts from the beginning. Go back and watch. She is Trojan horsing, if you will, her agenda right now in her rehabilitation career. I think she will fail up. They all fail up. And she'll probably be a media superstar, or maybe she might retire. I don't know. I don't care. She's a terrible person. I just want to use her to destroy MAGA. And she's doing that. So that's awesome. The future of MAGA, I think, is more representative by Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes. And then people realize, don't sleep on it. I think the future of the Democratic Party, as Allison said, in the last 2 weeks, is more Mamdani than Schumer. And it is in the interest of the Democratic establishment and donors to finally recognize that, because there's an opportunity for generational change. And I don't think, Allison, as things are going to get worse, and they're going to get worse, sadly, in the next year with the economy, there's going to be a rage building, Allison, a rage. And that rage needs a positive outlet. I think that rage needs a voice that says, you know what? We have to imagine a better way forward. And I think I agree with you. That message that resonates across the board, whether Republican, MAGA, left, right, affordability. Us versus the 1%, 99% versus the oligarchy. They're drinking our milkshake. Go after Musk, Thiel, and the billionaires. It works, folks. I'm telling you. Go to red states. It works. People are pissed. Thanksgiving's around the corner. December is around the corner. People can't afford presents for their kids. And on Fox, you know what a Fox economist said? Don't buy presents for your grandma and grandpa. They don't need it. I'm not making it up. They literally said last week, elders don't need presents. So that's where we are. Allison, final word to you, and please shamelessly promote yourself.
Just thanks, everybody. I had a great morning. I went and I spoke at the Democratic Club at the Coronado Library here in San Diego. That was a wonderful meeting of just incredible, like-minded people, progressive people, and I had a great time doing that. Everybody, I'll be on the Midas Touch Network on their live channel tomorrow at noon Pacific. I've got a lot to say about how this whole thing is crumbling right now for MAGA and how we can take advantage of that fact. And then, if you get a chance to listen to the Daily Beans podcast, if you never have, it's a way to get your news without feeling despair, without having to listen to Ken Jennings. A little bit of appropriate profanity and brought to you from a progressive point of view. It's a good way to get all the news that's important without, walking around in a clickbait haze. So I appreciate all of the people who listen to the Daily Beans, and we'll be back in your ears on that show on Monday morning. That's it. And thank you so much, Waj, for having me.
Thanks so much for being a good sport. And I'm off to actually support a Democratic candidate. I'm in conversation. I got to drive 50 minutes, so I'm going to leave in 5 minutes. I will change this shirt for a collared shirt and put on a jacket and look like an adult. This has been the Left Hook, folks, and the breakdown with Allison Gill. We're terrible capitalists. We have kept everything for free because we're fools. If you have some money, give it to Allison first. If you have a few dollars left over, give it to me. As you all know, I have 800 kids and shop at Costco, and I have 3 cats. Allison also has a cat. If not, at the very least, become a free subscriber. It's all free, no paywalls. It's all independent, which is why we can say what we say without fear or favor. This will be up later for the 2,100 people watching on my Substack, on Allison's Substack, so you can watch it anytime. And folks, be kind, be informed, enjoy your weekends, rest, and please, oh please, don't be a fascist. Thank you, Allison. Don't work anymore.
Thanks, Waj. Bye.